Curious, setting the scene. We are surrounded by an ocean of data, but having access to an infinite stream of metrics doesn't actually mean you can make quick decisions. Usually, it just means you're drowning in noise. Our biology sets a hard limit on how we process this information. Recent studies show the average human attention span has dropped to roughly 8 seconds, leaving us with very little bandwidth to navigate a massive spreadsheet on the fly. This biological limit creates a hard threshold for design, known as the 5-second rule. If a user looks at a screen and cannot grasp the core narrative within 5 seconds, the design has failed. Effective dashboards function as translators. They take massive complex datasets and compress them into a format that fits through our narrow cognitive bottleneck. Building a successful dashboard requires mastering behavioral psychology. You have to design for the brain to turn an overwhelming dataset into an immediate business action. The design process begins long before you select a chart. It starts with identifying the user's specific mental model, figuring out what they actually need, and then aggressively deciding what to leave out. A C-suite executive looking for a strategic overview needs high-level health indicators to spot broad organizational trends. Meanwhile, a mid-level manager needs a tactical drill-down, specific, granular metrics that track weekly progress. Mixing the two confuses both users. When you throw too much information at a user, you create cognitive friction. Every decorative icon, every unnecessary color, and every thick border forces the brain to spend precious mental energy processing elements that don't communicate data. Statistician Edward Tufte used the data-ink ratio to explain this. Maximize the ink showing actual data, and aggressively target everything else. By stripping away those distracting elements, the friction disappears. You are left with a clean, minimalist visualization where pure data stands out. You reduce friction further by eliminating overly precise numbers. A revenue figure of $850,000 is instantly digestible. Adding specific cents to that number doesn't change the strategic reality. It just slows down comprehension. Round your numbers to a point where the differences represent a material change. The same logic applies to color. If you use highly saturated reds and greens everywhere, their significance wears off. Intense color should be reserved exclusively to highlight critical anomalies, rather than serving as a default aesthetic palette. Establishing a high data-ink ratio forces the brain to process only the pure signal, completely eliminating the distracting noise. Our eyes instinctively begin at the top left corner before cascading right, meaning your most vital KPI must be placed there. Next, we leverage the Gestalt principle as proximity. By clustering related metrics and using whitespace, you create clear groupings without distracting borders. This visualization demonstrates a common flaw in human visual processing. We are inaccurate when trying to compare spatial areas. That makes 3D pie charts and bubble charts inherently deceptive. Taking that exact same data and presenting it as a horizontal bar graph makes the comparison instantly accurate. Even with the perfect chart, a raw number standing alone is meaningless. If revenue is $5,000 today, the brain immediately asks if that is normal, good, or bad. A metric requires a direct comparison to a past period or a stated target to possess any actual meaning. Structuring data alongside natural visual pathways and providing immediate historical context removes the guesswork. It ensures a raw number leads to an actionable conclusion. A cognitively optimized dashboard drives immediate action. But achieving that clarity isn't a one-time event. Maintaining it requires treating the system as a living product. Businesses evolve, goals shift, and entirely new questions arise. If a dashboard is left unmanaged as the business context changes, its original clarity will inevitably degrade back into clutter. To prevent that decay, you have to run A/B tests and collect direct user feedback. You must continuously reevaluate what data remains relevant to the user's mental model and what has become visual noise. The designer serves as a visual storyteller, curating human attention to ensure the data is understood correctly. We cannot change the biological limits of the human mind, but by respecting those limits and designing specifically for them, we elevate raw data into clear